I often wondered how much of us is just a reaction to the people around us. If you take away the mirrors, the conversations, what's left of the man? To me, it feels like we're all just a reflection in other people's eyes. You think you have a soul, but maybe you have a habit of being seen. Take away the mirrors, the people, and the performance stops. You're left in a room where the air doesn't move. You're left with the sound of your own blood rushing through your ears. And the sound starts to feel like someone else is in there with you in the room. I found myself staring at the door recently, a plain wooden door. And I thought about a man who stared at the same door for like 5,745 days. He didn't know his crime. He didn't know who locked him up. I feel like the silence of a door is heavier than any scream. You waited 5,000 days for a handle to turn. You'd memorized the grain of wood. You'd gave names to splinters. You begged the door to tell you why you're there, but the door just stands there. It doesn't care about your innocence. It only cares about its hinges. He only knew the same fried dumplings every single day. Look at the steam rising from the food. After 15 years, that steam doesn't feel like meal. It smells like room itself. It's just a heat without flavor, a reminder of the stagnant air he's been breathing for a decade and a half. To me, the horror isn't the imprisonment, it's the adaptation. I feel chill when I think about him shadowboxing against the wallpaper. He's not fighting a ghost, he's fighting the disappearance of his own soul. Have you ever felt that? The fear that if you don't fight, you'll simply evaporate. Imagine the patience required to watch a man for 15 years, to not want him dead, but to want him ruined. I think about the mind of that person who built that room. He didn't just provide a cell, he provided the TV, the dumplings, and the wallpaper. He curated a life of absolute nothingness. To me, this isn't a person. It's a hollowed out shell that's forgotten how to be a human. He is the architect now, who didn't just want to punish him, but wants to hollow him out as well. I feel there's a specific kind of a sickness in watching someone through a lens for a decade. You are not the face in the dark anymore, you've become his parasite. You breathe when he breathes, and you wait for him to break so just you can feel the pulse in your own chest. There's a specific kind of a God complex in that, to decide when a man gets to sleep, when he eats, and when he finally gets to see the sky. I wonder, what does that do to the soul of the one watching? To spend your entire life obsessing over another man's suffering. It makes me realize that they are both in a cage. One is made of bricks and the other is made of obsession. The architect isn't free. He's just the one holding the keys to his own haunting. Who is more broken? The man who lost 15 years or the man who spends 15 years making sure they were lost? When the door finally opens, you expect the scream of joy. But the silence is a hard habit to break. When he finally steps into the light, the first thing he hears isn't the birds. It's a ringtone. Think about the psychological weight of that sound. To me, that sound of a ringtone is a trigger. It's the architect reaching from the dark and tapping him on the shoulder. I feel like most people see a phone and then think of a lifeline, but here it's a shackle. It's the sound of the room following him out in the streets. I look at the phone and I see a hook buried deep in a man's throat. You can walk as far as you want. You can breathe the fresh air and pretend that you're free. But the moment that sound vibrates in your pocket, the whole world shrinks down to the four walls. You realize you're just being let out on the longest string to see how much you struggle before you drag back into the mud. In this world, the phone is a leash. Every time it rings, it's a reminder that his freedom is an illusion. You think you're free, you think you're hunting, but you're just following your master's voice. He is the author of your life now. Every step you take was written in his apartment years ago. I feel like the writer is sitting somewhere nearby, watching the screen light up, waiting for the man to break. Every time he calls, he's not calling to talk, he's calling to remind him who owns him. To me, that ringtone is a lock clicking shut. Every time he picks up, he's admitting that he is the puppet in the game. He's admitting that the writer is the only one who knows how the story actually ends. The phone doesn't just connect him to the world, it binds him to his master. It ensures that even in the middle of a crowded city, he's still sitting in that room waiting for his next instructions. What happens when the walls disappear? For a man who's been confined by the four walls, the world is a nightmare of scale. Think about the first time that sunlight hits his eyes and his skin. It wouldn't feel warm, it would feel like needle. The heat on his skin would feel like a physical weight, like the atmosphere itself trying to crush him. And then there's the horizon, a line that never ends. No corners to catch his gaze, no ceiling to press down on his thoughts. It would feel like falling upwards into the sky. He looks at the people on the streets and he does not see a society. Every person he passes is a ghost. They move, they speak, but they aren't real to him. They're shadows in a world he no longer belongs to. He is the man who was dug up from the grave and told to walk. And then there's the girl, the first warm thing he has touched in a decade and a half. But I look at her and I feel cold. She's just a character in a game that she didn't even know she's playing. Her hands were placed precisely where the writer knew his wounds were the deepest. She thinks she's saving him, he thinks he's fighting himself, but they are both just puppets being played by the strings that were tied long before she was even born. The writer knows where he has hurt the most. He didn't just want the man to be lonely, he wanted him to feel hopeful, only to realize that hope was a trap. I feel like he's leaning over a man's shoulder, guiding his hands towards her, whispering, "Look, something beautiful. Now touch it and watch it turn to ash." Every soft word she speaks is just a thorn hidden in the script. It's the most calculated kind of cruelty. using love as a weapon because it's the only thing that can still penetrate a soul that's been hardened by 15 years of concrete. And then the hallway. Most people focus on the impact, the blood on the hammer, but I thought about the rhythm, the way he moves. It's a dance. A man who has nothing left to lose is the most graceful thing you'll ever see. To have a singular direction, regardless of a cost, it's a rare and terrifying clarity. My opinion, the tragedy isn't that he was locked away, it's that even once he was found, he never left the room. The world of this story is a place where the truth is a poison and the silence is the only cure. I've sat with the ending of this for a long time. Why do this? Why 15 years of dumplings and wallpaper? To me, it's because the writer's world didn't just break, it burned. And he wanted the man to feel the heat of the embers. I feel like we forgot how heavy a tongue can be. A single careless word in a school hallway. A rumor about a brother and a sister. To the man, it was just a bit of a noise to pass the time, but to the writer, that noise was a death sentence. It drove his sister to the edge of the bridge, and it forced him to watch the only person he loved fall into the water. Just because of this sentence that didn't even need to be spoken. I feel like the writer didn't want him dead, because death is mercy. Death is a closed door. He wanted the man to live in the room for 15 years so he can finally understand what it's like to have your life stopped while the rest of the world keeps moving. He wanted to make the man become the monument to that one mistake. He wanted to make him as lonely as the truth, and the truth so disgusting that once you hear it, you can never go back being a human. As the coldness of the snow begins to fall and the haunting violin begins to play, I realized the truth. Vengeance is a full circle, and if you follow it long enough, you'll eventually find yourself standing right behind your own back. He chose to forget. He traded the truth for a lie just so he can sleep at night. He's the author of his own life now, but he chose to write a fiction. He's a ghost in a world of ghosts smiling at the truth he killed. This was the world of a man who was lost for 15 years and found in 5 days. This was the world of Oldboy. But vengeance is a loud emotion. There is a world much quieter than this. The one that feels like a cold hand at the back of your neck. Next time, we'll look at the person who forgot he was a killer and the one who reminded him. Don't go back to sleep. You know where to find me.